Hello everyone and welcome to Sociology A-Level Work Poverty Welfare, looking at the distribution of poverty, wealth and income. So firstly, wealth is defined as the value of all the possessions of an individual minus any debt that they have. This includes houses, land, money, shares and personal goods. So wealth is largely a result from ownership of business and property. Most of this gets passed down through generations, so it stays in the family. However, lots of the richest people in Britain have generated their own wealth. Many people have gained their wealth through their income. Income is defined as their personal funds that the individual receives on a monthly or yearly basis. This is usually from a job, but could be from benefits or interest from savings. Recent changes in society have increased the gap between the rich and the poor. So household disposable income per head has grown steadily in the UK since the 1980s. This reflects the overall growth of the economy and could be said to show that everybody is getting richer to some extent. On the other hand, the gap between the rich and poor has widened, which shows that the rich are getting richer whilst the poor are getting relatively poorer. So the gap between the income of the rich and the income of the poor went down in the 1970s under the Labour government. Benefits given to the poor went up and taxes paid by the rich were very high. But in the 1980s under the Conservative government, the gap widened. The top rate of tax went down, so the rich kept more of their earnings and they didn't have to pay as much tax. And the taxes that everybody pays, for example fuel tax, all went up. So the economy did well and the rich people earned more money, but benefits went down. Therefore the poor people weren't doing as good as before. Adonis and Pollard, 1997, reported that the gap continued to widen into the 1990s. In addition to policies introduced during the 1980s, they identified the increase in private education as a factor affecting wealth distribution. Also, there has been an increase in the number of single-parent households who tend to have less money. This means the statistics show more poorer households. There are also more dual-income households, for example, families where both parents work. Income is measured by a household, so a household with two people in it, earning two decent wages, is relatively rich, contributing to the statistics showing an increase in rich households. Some groups in society are more likely to be poor than others. The government measure of poverty in the UK is an income of less than 60% of the median income. The median income is the middle income. Half the population earn more than the median, and half of them earn less. It's a measure of relative poverty, and the line changes with the incomes of the rest of the population. Social class affects wealth, income, and poverty. For example, the factors determining social class, such as type of job, are closely linked to economic well-being. People in unskilled manual jobs tend to have lower wages and less job security than those higher up in the socio-economic scale. People in higher social classes are also more likely to get better qualifications in education, leading to better paid jobs. Smith and Wright, 1997, suggested that a reason for this is that market-driven educational reforms favour middle-class children. So basically what they say is that the education system favours middle-class children and helps them achieve. Middle-class people can continue working for longer because they tend to have better health. And they tend to have better health due to having more money, therefore a better diet. Also, income seems to be related to ethnicity. So census data shows that white British and Indian people are much more likely to be in paid work than Bangladeshi, Pakistani and black African people. The difference for women, however, is much greater. This could be due to cultural reasons. For example, women in some cultures are traditionally expected to stay at home to look after the children. Studies have also shown that Bangladeshis and Pakistanis and black Africans are generally less well paid. Family structure also has an impact. The ethnic minorities, which tend to have more children or are more likely to be in single parent families, are more likely to be less well off. Racism and discrimination are also thought to limit the opportunities of some people in ethnic minority groups. Also, if English is not somebody's first language, this may pose as a barrier. Single-parent families are more likely to be poor because raising children is expensive, so families with children are more likely to be in poverty than families without children, but lone-parent families especially are more likely to be in poverty than two-parent families. In 2015, the Department for Work and Pensions found that 41% of children in single-parent families live in relative poverty, about double the proportion of children in two-parent families. Women are slightly more likely to be poor than men. The difference is because women are more likely to be single parents than men are, and female single parents tend to be from less affluent backgrounds in the first place. Working mums are more likely to be in part-time jobs that fit with their childcare, but these often pay less. Single female pensioners are also more likely to have low income compared to single male pensioners. Age is also a factor. Children in the UK are statistically more likely to live in low-income households than the population as a whole. Data shows that unless an adult in their family works full-time, there's a high chance that a child will be in relative poverty. Lastly, pensioners are now less likely than non-pensioners to live in poverty, even though the opposite was true until about 15 years ago. This could be due to more generous benefits for pensioners. The disabled are also more likely to have low incomes. The disabled adults are twice as likely as non-disabled adults to live in low-income households. This is because disabled adults are more likely to have low-paid work or not even in work. They often either can't work or face discrimination in the job market. They may also have had poorer access to education, making them less qualified on average than other people. Thank you for listening. That was Sociology A-Level, Work, Poverty, Welfare, looking at the distribution of poverty, wealth and income.